Well, it's a good Saturday morning, and we welcome you to www.theupliftlive.com. It's a Saturday morning. I'm Robert Ashley, and we thank you once again for being with us right here at The Review. Now, The Review, of course, each and every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time until about 11:30 Central Standard Time. We're here live at www.theupliftlive.com. Now, look, that's probably the best secret that's taking place all around the world here. This online 24-hour Christian gospel music station. And once again, we want to continue to salute the staff, the owners, and the operators here. And of course, we continue to thank you for being with us. Well, I'm Robert Ashley. And once again, we have served as a newsman, a journalist for the last 30 years or more right here in Dallas, Texas, after getting a degree in journalism and mass communications from Grambling State University there in Grambling, Louisiana. And once again, we are honored to be with you this morning right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Now, coming up a little bit later on, we have several guests who's going to be joining us here. We're going to have, of course, Angela Lucky, very much involved in the community there in Grand Prairie, Texas, the NAACP president. We understand that one of our young men who we know in the community, Al Green. Now, some of you know Al Green, very much involved in politics, but we understand he's been indicted and arrested, just like former President Donald Trump and several others have been indicted and arrested in connection with allegations of election fraud. Now, we understand that the Dallas County District Attorney, John Cruzo, pretty much removed himself from this particular case here and allowed the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office to handle that case involving Al Green. And it's just an incredible situation. We've known Al for quite some time. He was very much involved with politics. But according to the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, they arrested the Frisco native. And we're going to talk with Angela Lucky about that. I want to thank Angela for bringing that story to our attention. And of course, many of you know we have lots of things that are going on in the news in this day and time. We have the former president of the United States and about maybe 16 to 17 others who are expected to surrender to Georgia state officials coming up this week in connection with all of the allegations of the president trying to impact the presidential elections there in Georgia. Now, also another interesting development, President Trump was scheduled to give a news conference, and he claims he was going to present information that proved he basically had the 2020 election stolen from him, but his lawyers, he finally decided to listen to his lawyers. His lawyers said, nope, you should not do that. And so, therefore, that's not going to happen. Meanwhile, President Biden really has been interesting. He's been going around celebrating, talking about Bidenomics, if you will. Y'all remember Reaganomics? Well, now we have Bidenomics. Now, this president, Joe Biden, it's a very controversial situation involving the current president. But as it stands right now, most Democrats are rallying around President Biden, despite all the talk from the Republicans about the special prosecutor who's been appointed to investigate his son. Now, what the Republicans are trying to do, they're trying to tie the current president to allegations of influence peddling, allegations of taking bribes from America's top enemies, the Russians and the Chinese, pretty much using his son. And now the media, particularly CNN, and I watch all the media. I watch CNN, Fox News, ABC, CBS, and as a journalist, trained journalist over the years, you can do that because you can watch the news and you can understand those perspectives. Because as a news person, you have your own perspective on the news, even though you try to hide it and be as objective as you possibly can. Now, if you notice, when they talk about President Trump, CNN spends a lot of time talking about President Trump. I just wish they would bring up their journalistic credibility and talk about Hunter Biden. Now, you do talk about him. I have to give CNN some credit there. They do talk about Hunter Biden, special prosecutor, and all the other evidence, the bank records, all those LLCs that have been opened up, all that kind of thing there. But see, the American people, you're just going to have to be as intelligent as you possibly can to decipher between who's telling the truth about this, who's telling the truth about that. So either way it goes in terms of the presidential elections, we're going to continue to watch it. We're moving towards 2024, and we continue to encourage you to make sure that you're ready to vote. Not only in the local elections, but the national elections, state elections. You should be voting in every election that comes up because former Dallas City Councilwoman Diane Ragsdale said that voting, especially in local elections, have more impact on your life than any other given election. So right here at www.theupliftlive.com, we encourage you to continue to utilize that right to vote. Now, also expecting to join us this morning, our regular panel, Reggie Ruffin of the Just Cause Coalition. Once again, Angela Lucky of the Grand Prairie NAACP is going to be joining us today, along with Arthur Fleming, a longtime civil rights leader here, and of course, the Reverend Melvin Brown. But there, of course, is our good friend Angela Lucky. And Angela, just want to say good morning to you. Can you hear me pretty good? How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm blessed, and thank you for allowing me to come on your show to this morning.
Amen, amen. And also there is the one and only the Reverend Melvin Brown. And Reverend Brown, we want to say good morning to you, sir. How are you, Reverend Brown?
Oh, I'm doing very, very well, Dr. Ashley. Thanks so much for having me today. Angela, it's good to see you today.
Likewise.
Well, look, it's an honor to have both of you. And also, a real quick word here. I want to say good morning to Dallas Rice, and of course, Bishop J.B. Hornsby over at the Saintsville Church of God in Christ. Now, many of you know that maybe about a month or so ago, Saintsville went up in flames. And we were trying to get in touch with someone at the church to try to find out exactly what they've been doing. Now, I know at one time, right after the fire, they were having Zoom services. They were not meeting in that building because they lost several classrooms, and some of the sanctuary that they had just renovated there might have suffered a little smoke damage. But you know, whenever there's a fire, that smoke scent's going to be in there for quite some time. So we're going to continue to endeavor to get in touch with officials from Saintsville Church of God in Christ. Bishop J.B. Hornsby, of course, is indeed the pastor. He's the pastor of several churches. We worked with him back during the old Heaven 97 days. And of course, I want to say once again good morning to Dallas Rice. We're reaching out to him to see if we can get an update on what's going on there at Saintsville. Now, also, Angela and Reverend Brown, once again, it's an honor to have both of you here. But Angela, that story that you sent me last night regarding Reverend, I've known him at one time as Al Green, and then I saw him another time. He said, "Well, no, don't call me Reverend Al Green." But this story regarding Al Green and the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, he is facing an indictment over allegations of fraud. The Dallas County District Attorney, John Cruzo, opted out of that case. He recused himself from the case and allowed the Fort Bend County District Attorney to go forth. But we've known Al Green in this community for quite some time. And as we're moving towards the 24 elections, Angela, it's shocking, that story, because I hadn't heard that about his arrest and indictment.
Yeah, that concerns me as an activist. It concerns me that Dallas County continues to decide on who dirt that they're going to air in the public. This story has been kept quiet. Our Dallas County District Attorney, Mr. Cruzo, decided not to air this dirt. And I feel that anyone that is trying to do something that has injustice to our judicial system and our election process, they should be prosecuted. And I just feel that in this particular case, because of the individual that did get arrested, Al Green, he have helped so many people get on the bench. He have campaigned for so many, and this is nothing new. This is something that has been going on for decades, where the allegation that he's facing right now, people that they're serving right now, they have committed these things, knowing that individuals were copying other people's signatures from one petition to another. These things are common, but somebody had enough bravery in them to go ahead and file a complaint to make sure Al Green get what he's actually facing right now. But what I'm concerned with is, how do you arrest Al Green on and indict him on these allegations, and on these allegations, serious offenses, and then the people that he was actually doing this for, it's just like they're walking around free. You cannot tell me that you're running for something and that you did not know that he was doing this for you. So again, it's Dallas County. Anyone that allowed Al to do these things, knowing for them, they should be facing the same consequences that Al is. How do you help somebody commit a crime, but yet they only arrest one person? So when I take a look at that, I just said again, Dallas County has a long history of deciding on what dirt they air, what dirt they keep quiet, and then everybody don't get arrested. Everybody don't get indicted. And I just think that those individuals, if they did know that he was doing this, they should be barred from running for any position in any
Wow.
county, and they should be facing the same type of charges that Al Green find himself in this particular situation.
Wow.
Again, I
Yeah.
want to know what the Democratic Party is saying. Jeff Dalton, he's quiet. You're not hearing anything for the Democratic Party. Jeff Dalton is quiet. The entire Democratic Party over there, the chair, they're quiet. They're not saying anything about this. Now, if it had been me or anyone else, then they will just be making this like a media thing. We'll be in the media just like the former President Donald Trump. But for some
Mm.
reason, Dallas wants to keep this quiet about Al Green, and it should not be kept quiet. That's why I reached out to you. I reached out to other media people because he's been accused of falsifying names and signatures of petitioners, and then also notarizing statements that he know is false. So it's almost like one person fill out their petition, and then you're copying same petition and putting other people's names on it. That right there is just injustice to our voting process, the whole procedures. And we can't just sit here and say, oh, because it's someone black doing it or because it's somebody popular doing it, we're going to be quiet on it. That's not how justice works. That's not how justice works. And I'm not going to be on that side of the justice team. This needs to be made well known that if you practice like this, you will get the same business that Al Green is getting. He got arrested.
Wow. Now, Arthur Fleming, former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP, joining us this morning, columnist for the North Dallas Gazette. And once again, the Reverend Melvin Brown is with us. And you've just heard there from Angela Lucky. And we're talking here, and Arthur, we want to welcome this morning the Fort Bend County District Attorney, Brian Middleton announced the arrest of Alvin Green. We know him as Al Green in Dallas. I saw him just a couple of weeks ago at the Black Rodeo there, if you will. But once again, the Fort Bend County District Attorney announced the arrest of Alvin Green of Dallas County, an election fraud investigation after charges were filed by the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office Public Integrity Division. Now, on August 16, 2023, reports are indicating that the Frisco resident, Al Green, 59 years old, was arrested in Dallas County on charges of election fraud, fraudulent use of identifying information, and tampering with a governmental record. Now, Al Green is facing charges for allegedly falsifying the petitions for judicial office of 5 applicants in the 2022 Dallas County Democratic primary. Robert Alvarez, Melody Armstrong, Judge Mary Brown, Graciela Overa, and Angel Mata, if you will. Now you're saying, Angela, that these folks, I think we may have lost Angela, but she's saying that perhaps they should be facing charges too. Now, the indictment, though, alleges that Al Green, they accuse him of falsifying the names and signatures of petitioners, the petitions circulators, and notarizing statements that he allegedly knew were false. Now, Green is also alleged to have used or transferred petition information from one petition's applicant petition to another. Now, Al, if you're watching this, now you know I'll call you, give you an opportunity to have your say. Now, all the applicants were disqualified by the Dallas County Democratic Party from participating in last year's Democratic primary, with the exception of Angel Mata. Now, Judge Mary Brown, though, while disqualified from the primary, went on to win her reelection as a write-in candidate. Now, the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office also appointed by the Dallas County administrative judges as the prosecutors pretty much said they didn't want to investigate this for whatever reason. It seems like the District Attorney's Office says he's been involved. He got elected through the Democratic Party. Are you saying that, Angela, and that's why he recused himself, or should he have stayed involved? Are you saying that other people should be facing indictments as well? And then we'll get on there.
I truly feel that Dallas County DA Cruzo should have stayed on this case. That way, the Dallas County residents, we will see that he can be a fair person in this particular case, because now I have to question, why did our DA feel that he had to recuse himself? And why is our DA and I want to use the word in bed with so many of these politicians in Dallas County. I mean, we have so much corruption that is going on, and we're focused on a presidential indictment when we should be focused on these indictments that's happening right here in our backyard that they're trying to keep quiet.
My goodness. Now, also a little bit more here. We understand that the Fort Bend County Public Integrity Division investigated this case with the assistance of the Dallas Police Department. Now, the fraudulent use of identifying information or tampering with a government record are felony offenses that carry a range of punishment from 2 to 20 years in prison and at least 180 days to 2 years. Now, election fraud is a Class A misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to 6 months of confinement. And once again, I just want Al to know that we will reach out to him. If you have an attorney, Al will give you a chance to talk about this. But we haven't seen this on Channel 8, none of the TV stations. Has it even been in the Dallas Morning News? Because this article that you sent me, I was trying to figure out, well, who is this newspaper?
Yeah, is it real?
Yeah, now, well, what do you think, Arthur? I mean, good morning to both of you, Reverend Reverend Robinson, all of you, the article this morning.
Everybody, how y'all doing?
God bless you, Arthur.
A story like this break, first of all, you want to hear from all parties, first of all. You want to hear from all parties. Now, like you said, that's a news. I don't know where that newspaper came from. I don't know nothing about them. Why isn't it on the other medias? So what I'm saying is that, we got a lot of hoaxing and doxing going on.
Are you accusing the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office of lying?
No, I said we don't have the facts, so I can't accuse nobody because I don't know. I really don't know what it is yet. Now, as far as the Crusoe recusing herself, Angela, you recuse yourself because you're trying to be ethical. If you're not ethical, then you don't recuse yourself. So recusal is saying that I may have a conflict of interest.
Ooh.
I'm going to recuse myself so that I won't be caught in a conflict. Because if he would have stayed on, then you say he should have recused himself. So you can't have it both ways. The same thing up at the Supreme Court to talk about right now, recusal. Clarence Thomas, you should have recused yourself. He didn't do it.
So are you saying that we need to take a look at DA Crusoe's at his petitions as well?
I'm saying we need to get all the facts to this situation before we make any assumptions. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't have all the information. I'm like Robert, I don't even know who that newspaper is. I don't know who that newspaper is. You know how communications are these days. What's true? What's really true? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that it ain't true. I'm saying, and you say it yourself, none of the other medias have picked it up. Okay, so what I'm saying is that I need some verification right now, and this article, while written simply, it doesn't really explain everything. I haven't heard his side of it. There's two sides to every story. Well, it said three sides, but anyway, there's two sides that we're looking for, and I'm saying I haven't seen the other side. I've seen this side, so I'm not gonna take this right here and pretend it's the gospel. Because I don't know yet. Let's hear the whole thing first before we, start perspirating.
Al Green has seen what the press have released in Fort Bend County. Usually he's on his social media. He's always trying to recognize judges with galas. He put on different award ceremonies to recognize judges. That is something that he is comfortable with doing. If this allegation and this indictment was not true, he would be coming out in public to try to defend himself.
But you can't say it. It just came out. Anybody just came out 18 hours ago. Okay, give him a minute. Maybe he will.
This happened last year.
Okay, if it happened.
The arrest just recently happened, but these allegations and then what he's been charged of doing happened last year in the Democratic Party race, because some of these people did not get to run. Is it fair that what he's being accused of caused these people not to run to get elected in Dallas County?
And that newspaper
thing to do with it.
Yeah, now the story was in what they call the Fort Bend Herald newspaper. If you were to go to Google, again on social media, just like we're on Facebook social media right now, and you just Google Al Green of Fort Bend County indicts Al Green on election fraud charges. A slew of stories come up, and this one comes up from the Fort Bend Herald newspaper. But here in Dallas, Texas, now let's go to the Reverend Melvin Brown. Now, Reverend Brown, Democrats and Republicans. If you got to take, for example, Fannie Willis, the black woman in Fulton County that read the big indictment against Trump and all his supporters. And then when you look at a black district attorney in Dallas, Texas, recusing himself from a case involving the Democratic Party. What are your thoughts, Reverend Brown, from I guess, a spiritual integrity point of view? Should Democrats be able to judge Democrats? If he's a district attorney, is he going to recuse himself from every case that involves a Democrat? What's up with that? Oh, did we lose Reverend Brown?
Well, I'll make my comment.
Okay, I think we may have lost her, but I'll put that question to you, author. Can Democrats judge Democrats?
Again, you know, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, that shouldn't be the point. The point is, do you have a conflict of interest or not? If you got a conflict of interest, then you should not judge the case, because whatever comes out of it after that, there will be that conflict. So you can't do that. So it would come down to conflict of interest, not Democrat or Republican. You know, don't do that, because if you do that.
So what is the district attorney's conflict? Because he's a Democrat, Angela, and worked with the Democratic Party, he's saying that he can't judge Democrats when it comes down to election laws and petitions.
Well, the Dallas District Attorney Cruzo have not come out in the public to make a statement on why he have recused himself. I mean, I would like to hear from the DA. You know, he needs to come out in the public and tell us, why did he recuse himself from handling this case? Only he knows why he recusing himself. Mr. Fillingman just stated it could be a conflict of interest. What is that conflict of interest?
Yes,
and why is they keeping this quiet in Dallas County?
That's the question I asked. If you're going to ask a question.
Well, Dallas County isn't Dallas County run by Democrats? Isn't the Commissioner's Court, Clay Jenkins, Eva Garcia, Commissioner John Wiley Price, aren't they in Dallas County run by Democrats?
Yeah, but what does that have to do with this particular case? I mean,
well, it shows that the Democratic district attorney is trying to make sure that he's being fair, because he's a Democrat. So maybe anytime a Democratic politician comes up before the district attorney, he'll have to recuse himself. Or is that just politics? Fannie Willis said, I'm going to go after you, Republican.
You only recuse yourself, Robert, if you have a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is why you recuse yourself. So he has a conflict of interest. Answer the right question. What is the conflict? That's what you want to know. What is the conflict? Now, all this Democrat, Republican. No. Let's don't do that.
All right. Let's go let's get spiritual advice.
Also, the concern is, why is this investigation not public? The public have a right to know about this investigation. We have a right to know about the former president of the United States, Donald Trump. So we have a right to know about the indictment, the arrest of Al Green, and that our Dallas County DA recused himself. So this should be public in Dallas County, not Fort Bend.
Not to the point of what Angela, is talking about. Okay, from my position as an NAACP Dallas executive member and voter and so forth,
yes,
Al Green is on our executive committee over the Dallas branch, and so what I'm saying I'm saying that I would have liked to have known, if this is true, that was going on. I would have liked to have known that, and so I'm saying that, and so my question would be, when he ran this past November. Okay, so I guess this happened a year ago. So he didn't disclose that to us when he ran. I think he should have.
And he's still been serving on your board, participating in the upcoming elections and all that?
No, he just got elected last October.
Wow.
And as the president of Grand Prairie NAACP,
we didn't know anything about that. So if this is true,
I cannot answer and say how Dr. Sharon Middlebrook runs her chapter of the Dallas NAACP. But if he is indicted and convicted of these charges, that's something that the NAACP needs to take a look if he is actually executive board member on the Dallas NAACP.
And I will definitely be following up on that to see if that's what the situation is.
All right. Well, sure. Thank you for that, Mr. Flynn, because you NAACP, y'all supposed to be a nonpartisan, if I recall.
Well, we can be the nonpartisan. Mean when you come and work with the organization through the organization that you do your work in a nonpartisan manner. You know, you can still be a Democrat, Republican, as we've always had. We've always had both of them. Ben Hooks was a Republican, okay, back in the day. So, you know. So
Ben Hooks was a Republican?
Ben Hooks was a Republican. That's how Clarence Thomas got in here. That's how Clarence Thomas got in here.
Oh, no, yeah. I never knew that about Ben Hooks. Many times as I have interviewed Ben Hooks and covered him. Now, let's get Reverend Melvin Brown into this, because Reverend Brown can elected Democrats be fair and judge other Democrats, or can Fannie Willis and other Democrats like Alvin Bragg only go after Republicans? They can't judge Democrats?
Well, I think they should have accountability within. So judgment is a pretty hard word, but when you're talking about responsible leadership in public, there has to be some responsibility with character, as we've talked about. And we're in trouble, that's what I would say, based upon the local public officials as well as our national and presidency. So my heart is, and my mind is to pray for them first of all, but then hold them accountable. Let's be honest and be truthful about the issues.
Yes. Now, for those of you who are just not joining us, what we're talking about here is we're talking about Al Green, one of our young men who've been involved in politics, helping a lot of people get elected. Now, on August 16th of this year, the Frisco resident by the name of Alvin Green, 59 years old, was arrested in Dallas County on charges of election fraud, fraudulent use of identifying information, and tampering with a government record. Now, Al Green is facing charges for allegedly falsifying the petitions for judicial offices of 5 applicants in the 2022 Dallas County Democratic primary: Robert Alvarez, Melanie Armstrong, Judge Mary Brown, Graciela Overa, and Angel Mata. Now, the indictments accuse Green of falsifying the names and signatures of petitions and petitioners. Now, and then petition circulation. What is all that, Angela? Can you break that down? I mean,
well, let me say this also. Those individuals that you just named,
yes,
if they knew he was doing this, they should be a part of the offense. Al Green should not be the only one punished. If they knew he was doing this, they should be a party to the offense. That's how the justice system's supposed to work. But in Dallas County, it appears that justice does not always work like that in Dallas County. And so that concerns me about the fact that Dallas County and our judicial system, even with our DA office, they were keeping this quiet, hoping that no one, I guess, apparently in Dallas County would know that there was an investigation even being conducted. So it just seems like there's something sneaky is going on. And usually when it's something sneaky, then that's when Dallas County residents that we need to be paying attention and we need to be asking more questions. We should not keep electing these people to serve us on a bench, because why are we calling them you honor when they have no honor?
And what I don't appreciate is if this happened over a year ago and he came to our unit and got elected and didn't tell us about those. Then see, now I gotta be asking, okay, so why what are you doing? Did you come over here for cover? What is this? What are you doing? And so I'll be asking those questions of him should he show up at the meeting. But I'll be at the next meeting because he need to resign. If this is true, then he needs to go. Okay.
Oh my God, Angela, you and Arthur, y'all seem like y'all control the television media here in Dallas, Texas. All y'all got to do is hold a news conference and talk about this. The media always shows up when you guys do something in the media. Now, Reverend Brown, the integrity of the process. I seem like I sense Angela is concerned about the integrity of the process as the Democratic Party is moving towards the 24 elections. You can't afford anything. You already got Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and Trump's got all those indictments. But at the same time, I know Democrats don't want to talk about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, whether or not their bank records and all these LLCs and offshore banking accounts and all that. We don't want to talk about Biden and the Chinese and the Russians. Let's not talk about that. But Reverend Brown, is there concern about the process, the integrity of the system? I mean, should we as a people, we are supposed to be always moral people, but are we beginning to compromise our ethics, our morals for the sake of political expediency and say, God, get out of here. We don't care about integrity. We just want to get elected at any cost, hook or crook.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I've heard that for a lot of years, but I think you're right on it, Dr. Ashley. We're sacrificing our character, our integrity, our honesty. And actually, this kind of thing is transferred from one culture to another. It's not just black and white. There's wrong in both camps. And our children are looking at us.
Wow.
Okay. So what we're doing is the process is not correct, but at the same time, what we're teaching our children, which will be the leaders of the future, it's okay to do wrong. And let's just see if you get caught or not. And that's not right.
Well, I remember hearing this.
Rob, let me say this. Let me say this.
Okay, real quick, yeah, because I got to take a break.
Hey, I was going to say, Ricky Reb, the system is rigged, and black folks didn't rig it. That's all I want to say. The black folks didn't rig it. So we didn't do that. The crooks did that. The crooks did that. So you know, I didn't let the crooks do nothing. I wasn't with the crooks when they did it. And I'm just telling you, no, we didn't rig it. We didn't rig it. We didn't do it. They did it. We operate in it. We have to
Angela, real quick before we take this break down.
It's election fraud, and again, if those individuals he was gaining that information for, if they knew, then they should be a party to the same offense that he's facing right now. And that's my concern, is that how do you only just take one down, but yet you have several other people that it's a possibility was a party to that offense, and they should share in the same type of punishment.
All right, I'll tell you what, we got to get ready to pause for a quick break. But once again, if you're just now joining us, you're watching and listening to an online gospel radio station. It's called www.theupliftlive.com for those of you who need the Lord's help in terms of just making it in the world today, because we've got divine power when you're hooked up with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Once again, I'm Reverend Ashley, and we're here with you each and every Saturday morning. The story that we're talking about here today on August 16th, of this year, a Frisco native by the name of Al Green, who we know Al, have worked with Al down through the years. At 59, was arrested in Dallas on charges of election fraud, or fraudulently using and identifying information and tampering with government records. And Al, we want to reach out to you. And, you know, I saw you just last week at that Black Rodeo. Now, we were all having a good time eating barbecue and just having a good time there. But we want to hear from your side, Al, give you a chance to say your side of the story, because it seems like the media that we're reading here is just kind of a one-sided report from the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, as well as the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. All right, we're going to pause for a quick break. And remember, I remember Martin Luther King preached the sermon that the 11th commandment, thou shalt not get caught. And we'll be back with more right after this. And we welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. And once again, we want you to know now about The Uplift. It's a 24-hour gospel music station, and we're posted up right here in Dallas, Texas. And it's www.theupliftlive.com because we're living in some times now that are truly trying men's souls. And I can recall one of my former colleagues over at Heaven 97, the one and only brother Joe Bagby used to say, Bob, gospel music and gospel is good news in bad times. And once again, we welcome you to the review each and every Saturday morning. We are here from about 10 o'clock until 11:30 Central Standard Time, talking about the issues of the day and reviewing the top news stories of the week. We continue to thank God for giving us well over 30 years of practicing journalism right here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community. And I thank God for revealing my purpose. And that's one thing we encourage our young people. Always pray that God will reveal to you your purpose for living, because you have a divine purpose for living, and only you can basically pull off that task that God has assigned you to do. And we encourage you to do that. Ask God to reveal my purpose to me so that my living will not be in vain. Well, I'm a journalist, and once again, this morning we are talking here with Angela Lucky, the longtime president of the Grand Prairie chapter of the NAACP. She's giving us a female perspective on a lot of the issues here. Also with us today, the one and only Mr. Arthur Fleming, a longtime civil rights activist there, former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP. He's now a columnist with the North Dallas Gazette. And boy, you've got to read those articles, because I'm encouraging Arthur to put every last one of those articles. You need to write a book, my man, because you've got some ideas in there, and you're really talking about some really interesting, thought-provoking things there. And also the Reverend Melvin Brown, who is considered to be our spiritual advisor. Now, this young man is an accountant by trade. For those of you who might need a good accountant, you're being audited by the IRS. Maybe the Republicans sick the IRS on you. Maybe the Democrats sick the IRS on you. But Reverend Melvin Brown with Accounting Wizardry can indeed help you out. All right. Well, once again, Angela and Arthur and Reverend Brown, I got some breaking news taking place. Now, y'all saw what happened down there in Maui in Hawaii, where they had wildfires, and we have lost well over 100 people, maybe 1,000 are missing. And we're getting reports this morning that wildfires are raging in Canada this morning, and thousands of people are being evacuated in Canada. Now, here in the state of Texas, where it's been really, really hot, we've had 100-degree days over the last maybe a couple of weeks here. There were several wildfire scares in various communities. So for those of you who have homes, water around your house there, make sure you're keeping it kind of moist, so that if you can have a wildfire run up on you, you can get out there and fight that thing. But once again, I want to thank our guests for being with us here. And let's see here, y'all, you got enough on the election fraud? Want to move on to another topic? Are there anything else on that election fraud? Because as we're approaching the 24 elections here, Angela, we've got to be above reproach. I mean, all of this talk about cheating here, cheating there. Now, I know that Democrats don't like spending time talking about President Biden, but for the sake of the Black community who votes heavily Democratic, Angela, is there anything you think we need to be worried about in terms of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, or do you think the Democrats who are in control can keep Donald Trump and the Republicans at bay and win the 2024 election? We're also hearing now that there's a resurgence of COVID-19, some kind of new variant that's out there. So, Arthur, we may have to go back to the drop boxes. We may have to go back to that whole special COVID situation that the Republicans claim was a fake in order to manipulate the elections through mail ballots and drop boxes in the middle of the night and all that kind of thing. But we're hearing from our health officials that we may have another resurgence of COVID-19, and y'all might have to take another vaccine. But Angela, talk to us, Angela, from a female perspective on this stuff.
Well, I feel that the Democrats are in a good position, and I think that the Democrats will continue to win seats. I can speak here in a nonpartisan race in Grand Prairie. If you just take a look in 3 years, what we've actually done in Grand Prairie. In 3 years, we got 4 Blacks elected on city council.
Wow.
2 black males, and we got our first Black city manager elected a few days ago. And that was a takeover that just happened all in 3 years. There's not a city in nobody's state in the United States that can say in 3 years, after waiting 27 years to get anybody of color to get elected in a conservative Republican city, where it has taken place. So in 3 years, 4 Blacks on the city council and 1 Black city manager and 2 Hispanics. So yes, that's nonpartisan, but I truly believe Democrats sits in a good position to take seats.
And I think,
All right.
and I want to say, I want to compliment Angela, because Angela, look here, she did a great job over in Grand Prairie, because like I said before, she saw her actions, that wasn't happening. And over here in Dallas, we have 4 Black school board members, right? Here in Dallas. So I'm trying to get people, and we're saying the same thing. It's about being engaged, it's about getting the community engaged. We can do those things, and it has, and again, but as Black folks, we got to operate our power independent of the Democratic and Republican Party. The problem is we're on their algorithm. We need to be out on our own algorithm, and then that way we can do what we need to do to be. So when we talk about our power, let's talk about it independent of the Democratic Republican Party, so we can clearly see what we can do ourselves. And see, the Democratic Republican Party didn't do that. They didn't do none of this stuff we're talking about. We did this. So
Right.
this is a community thing. So that's all.
And NAACP is a nonpartisan organization, and I can tell you, members of the branch, it's affiliated with both parties, Republican and Democrat.
Right.
Now, and Arthur, we were talking a little bit earlier this week when you dropped that term that Black folks politically need to create their own algorithm, independent of the Democratic and Republican Party. Now, you got those Black folks who are already in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party say, man, what are you talking about, independent of the party?
Well, we have issues that are specific to our community, that we police reform, being one of the main ones. And there's a lot of Black Republicans that agree with that. And so we have a lot of issues as Black folks that we have a common interest in. And we need to operate in that fashion, like we do in the NAACP. Again, every Republicans over there, but in our conversations, we don't be. Matter of fact, I can't tell you who's a Republican and who's a Democrat over there, because I have never asked, and nobody's ever asked me. Some folks think I'm a Republican, some folks think I'm a Democrat. But saying we don't never have those conversations, and I'm just saying that, and that's the way it should be. We should be talking about issues and attach our power to our issues, and then once we do that, we coalition with other groups. Why? Because they will be respectful of our power. Right now, when they look at Black folks' power, they look at it. They go look at the Democratic Party. That's what they go look at. And
So are you saying, Arthur, that Black Democrats and Black Republicans should be working together?
I'm telling you that they do work together over the NAACP. We always have, is what I'm telling you. That's not nothing new. I told you, Ben Hooks was Republican. Most of our NAACP presidents, before Ben, probably were Republicans, for the most part. And so I'm just saying but again, that don't mean we can't get stuff done. That's why we have to separate ourselves. That's why legally it's supposed to be separated. We can't do Democrat Republican politics as NAACP. Now I know the lines have been blurred here lately, but they shouldn't be. They should be clear. And so that's what I'm going to be working toward, getting the lines clear that our community's power is independent of the Democratic Republican Party.
And let me get Reverend Brown into the conversation. Now, Reverend Brown, when you're talking about politics, Democrats and Republicans, when you look at the polls, now you got more Black folks who are voting, seemingly leaning to the Republican Party a little bit more in terms of some of these polls, not a whole lot, but it seems like the Democrats now are trying to strategize, Reverend Brown, as to how to hold on to the Black vote. Now, we know that the Black church vote is a block of votes that's going to always be there. Are any of today's moral conflicts, Reverend Brown, going to impact the Black church vote going to the Democratic Party? See, the Democratic Party, LGBT, there are a lot of people I've heard from that don't like that, but they say, I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden because I don't like Trump. And then I'm hearing from some Black folks who are saying, I don't like inflation going up. I don't like all this talk about Hunter Biden and his daddy being bribed by the Chinese and the Russians. I mean, some Black folks are sophisticated enough to understand the political area here. But I'm wondering, Reverend Brown, do Democrats need to make sure that they hold on to the Black church vote? And are any of these transgender issues going into the bathroom with Big Mama, going into the bathroom, a man going into the bathroom with Angela? Is any of that going to impact the black church vote, or as authors say, we separate our politics from our religion?
I think politics and religion are inseparable, just like the terms church and state. We've tried our best to regulate some type of, and we talked about it, morality, character, all those issues, but we have to vote. I don't see being African American in this country an option for closing our eyes and acting like we're not involved or we're not a part of this process. So I think there needs to be accountable equally on both sides. And I think we help bring accountability. If we take away the black vote, I can assure you that's going to get much worse than what it is right now.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, once again, you're watching The Review. Our phone lines are always open. Anywhere in the country, if you want to join this conversation, we would love to hear from you. 214-239-2898. That's 214-239-2898. But I know that on social media, a lot of people just like to sit back in the comfort of their homes and listen and look. Now, also, author, here's another story that broke here in the state of Texas just this week. Now, we've got an African-American female judge who's going to be overseeing the trial of Donald Trump in terms of his allegations of trying to overturn the 2020 elections. Now, author, you got a Texas woman facing charges after she allegedly threatened to kill the black female judge overseeing President Trump's case. Her name is Abigail Jo Shirey, and officials went to Alvin, Texas, and arrested her. She had the nerve to call black federal judge Tanya Chambers on August 5th and threatened to kill her, threatened to kill all the Democrats, and then threatened to kill Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who's getting ready to run for mayor there in Houston. And this woman also threatened to kill members of the LGBT community. So how do we deal with that kind of emotion as we're approaching 2024?
Okay, that lady. Okay, besides, now remember, and don't forget, Trump called Fannie Willis a rigger.
A rigger, which rhymes with the N word, but if he's accusing her of rigging the indictment, I mean that's an interesting play on words there.
But anyway, look here. When we talk about all those issues that you're talking about, though, you know, like this woman, okay, she's a part of the urgency and the dynamic that's going on right now. So when you talk about you say, if I go worried about somebody going to the bathroom, that's the kind of talk that got this woman doing what she's doing. I mean, that's what's getting her. That's what gets her going. And I'm saying that's why I say we have to, as African Americans, we can't engage in that. We can't afford that. That's stuff white people do. You know, they talk about everybody. You know, because everything they talk about is purely projection. Everything they talk about, that's what they're doing. And so I'm just saying that, you know, as African Americans, we have a moral authority that nobody else has. We have a moral authority that no other group has, and we need to exercise it. And we can't do it, and we can't exercise it if we're going to be, put on the crusade jacket or the jersey and go join the crusades. We can't do that. We have to leave. And so, and I'm not interested, and this is me. I'm not interested in putting on anybody's jersey. I'm about values. I'm about letting people live their lives. I'm not about going judging their lives. I'll let them, their God, do that. And I'm just going to judge me. And I'm going to judge me based on what I know. And I think that's what everybody needs to do. Go judge yourself.
Yes.
Leave other people alone.
And Angela, some of your thoughts when you heard about this lady being arrested for threatening the black female judge there and threatening to kill Sheila Jackson Lee, the LGBT community. Is that just the sentiment of white America, or do you think that sentiment goes beyond the white community, or do we have any way of knowing? Oh, I think you're muted. Unmute yourself there, Angela. There we go. So we can hear you.
As I was saying, I don't know all the facts of that particular case, and so I don't have a comment on that. But I wanted to say something earlier about Dallas County Democrats, about the way that it's structured and party. Me being the president of Grand Prairie NAACP, and because we didn't have any African Americans serving on our council, I personally contact Black people to run, but what I have a concern with is that you had white individuals that was a part and affiliated with the Dallas County Democratic Party that told these Black individuals that I asked to run to disconnect themselves from Angela Lucky, and and they were paying these white people to run their van list, and they were telling them to disconnect themselves from me. How do you tell a Black person that I called to run to not have any affiliation with me? I have a problem with that. There's a lot of issues and problems that the Dallas County Democratic Party should be looking at, because you don't need them to win in Dallas County. And where in America do a white person get to tell a Black person not to have any affiliation with another Black person?
Hey, Robert, I went to a Democratic. You may remember this a couple years ago when they had the mix up with the vote where the Democratic Party person, she messed up everybody's stuff, and so we had this big meeting. All the candidates came out, all and so forth. Everybody sitting at the leadership desk. Everybody was white. Everybody was white. Everybody in the audience was Black. And I'm saying something wrong with this. You know, something wrong with this picture. And so what she's saying, is describing what that is. Here you got these people up here telling Black people what to do in the Democratic Party. That's racist, you know. And I say Democratic Party got racist just like the Republican Party. And that's why I keep saying to you, Robert. Robert, both of them got racist in them. You know, you can make a shade of degree, but they both have racists in them. So that's why I say
who signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Who signed the Emancipation Proclamation?
Yeah, but they done switched suits since then. They switched suits since then. They switched suits from in World War II. During World War II, the Democrats became Republican, Republicans became the Democrats. So don't get confused by that. That's all I'm trying to tell you. They the same. And look here, and all the races didn't lead the Democratic Party. Some of them stayed. Okay, you know, so that's how they work. So you know, so when you get off into when you start talking about our issues in the context of the Democratic Republican Party, you're doing African American community a disservice. Why? Because you're talking about somebody else's stuff. You're not talking about our stuff once you put it in that context. So that's why I say we have to talk about our business separately from that.
Well, and see, that's where a lot of the so-called established Black politicians say, well, if you separate the party, then you're going to separate that money that I'm getting. Money is the mother's milk of politics. But Reverend Brown, you know, Malcolm X warned us years ago about white liberals. He said, you tell the white liberals to go back to the white community and sensitize white folks, and then they can come help the Black community. Whereas but now it seems like the white liberals, I know in Tarrant County, when you look at the Democratic Party, the Lone Star, and the Democratic, when Deborah Peoples was head of the Democratic Party, the Black woman, the white liberals, Reverend Brown, told Black folks what to do. And the way that Joe Biden talked to the Congressional Black Caucus and members of the Black community right after he got elected, if you were to go back and listen to that speech, it sounds like he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I'm talking about Joe Biden, the way he talked to Black folks. You go back and listen to it yourself. Y'all better get with those Hispanics and do this. And look at Eric Adams in New York City, who is crying now because his city is overflooded with immigrants. And the Biden administration won't help him. And the folks in New York got people sleeping on the streets and in parks and everything. But Reverend Brown, Malcolm warned us about the white liberal. But Arthur is saying we need to be independent in terms of both parties.
Those are great ideas. It takes me back to our meeting we had about a month ago. That was called the town hall meeting
on affirmative action. Pastor
You
Haynes.
were there. Yeah, you were there. Don't know if I saw Angela was there, but most of your panel has been up to speed on what that meeting was all about. Let me bring to the forefront 5 things that were talked about. Number 1, the strategies going forward as a community is visualization. We have to be able to see our future. We got to be able to see through all the mess and all the corruption and see hope. Number 2 is dramatization. These are things that Reverend Dr. Haynes spoke of. And so number 3 is mobilization. I think that's very important, that what we see and what we are able to do collectively, that we can mobilize and then move forward. And number 4 was activation. These are the last 2 I added. The first 3 were Dr. Haynes, but I thought it through. And so after visualization, dramatization, mobilization, there is activation,
Mhm.
and then finally is realization. Those are the things that keep a common bond as far as our conscious and our thinking, how we work collectively and collaboratively together as a community.
Amen. Amen. Now I've got some really good news here as we're gonna, get back to some of the controversial news because we've got a lot of police stuff. Y'all remember, and we haven't even have a chance to get our panel to react to the Alabama boat ride controversy. Y'all remember all that fighting that went on when that brother was trying to dock that dairy boat, and then he got attacked. And there was another situation up in Detroit where a brother had to use, I think it was a yellow chair, and those chairs have been really making big news here. But her name is Elena McWhorter. And this is some good news for our young people, to encourage our young people. Elena McWhorter, who previously made headlines by becoming the youngest Black person to be accepted into medical school, will now graduate from college at the age of 14 years old. Let me say that again. Elena McWhorter, who previously made headlines for becoming the youngest Black person to be accepted into medical school, will soon graduate from college at the age of 14. My goodness. Now, according to USA Today, Elena McWhorter is set to graduate with a bachelor's degree in biomedical. And now my story just popped off my little tablet here, but let me go to my computer here. Got to back up because this is some good news. When I saw this, once again, according to USA Today, Angelina McWhorter is set to graduate with a bachelor's degree in biomedical, biological sciences and a minor in global health from Arizona State University in December at the age of 14. Now, the achievement comes as Elena McWhorter graduated from high school at the age of 12 years old. And she went on to accept a full scholarship there at Arizona State University back in 2021 with a collaboration with the university, the Phoenix Mercury basketball team, the WNBA, and then the Desert Financial Credit Union. Now, at the age of 13, this young lady said that she was accepted into the medical school there at Alabama. And she said what motivated her is when she was in the 5th grade, some idiot teacher told her that Black girls cannot pass state exams and they don't get good grades. And she was mad enough to go ahead and get herself together. But now, Angela, when you hear stories like that, a little Black girl here getting ready to graduate from college at the age of 14, our youngsters can do anything they want to do. What's going on with our minds here? We can do anything we want to do. You're talking about Black excellence.
Most definitely. And that's why we have to continue to encourage our young people, to let them know our young people can do, whatever they set their minds to do. We have to be positive in an environment that may be toxic. Because if you're in an environment that's toxic and you don't have any positive role models, then our young people will go right down the tube. They will sink right down the tube. That's why we have to, as role models and leaders, we have to make sure toxic in our poor environments that we over there sowing in positivity in the young people mind, even if they're not getting it at home. And I wanted to comment on the Alabama.
Yes. The boat ride controversy.
I don't know about you that's on this panel and but I'm one of the Black folks. I was glad to see that because I am sick and tired of Black people. And I'm using the word sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of Black people being treated wrong. And then you only have half of the story. And I thank God that the people took out them cell phones, because let's say they only recorded when the Black people showed up at that boat and they started attacking the white. And we didn't see the first part, how all the white people jumped on the one Black guy. So I don't support violence, but what occurred right there at that dock when they jumped on, when they double teamed on that Black guy, and Pastor, you have to pray for me. But I'm telling you, I was proud of that moment.
All right, now Reverend Brown, I think we'll get off this comments on this. All right, Angela.
Well, no, she said well. She's very passionate, as Mr. Fleming is, and I'm passionate about my perspective. So we have a right to express our energy and our, our passion the way that we feel is appropriate.
Mhm.
And if we're being treated wrong, someone should say something about it.
Arthur, that's another concern now. I was concerned too that now there was a possibility
That's the
that
question about
somebody could have easily pulled out a gun
well,
and it could have turned deadly.
I haven't had a chance to answer the question about the young lady, man. You said
Oh,
about,
okay, Arthur, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
yeah,
The
okay.
14-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, the 14-year-old. And here, Hitler in Germany, he put together a breeding program for white folks to create a super race. White folks did that to black folks for 400 years. Okay, so the fact of the matter is, we have, and I taught school, we have geniuses running all over the place. That's why. Why do you think that they want to keep us suppressed? Why do you think that we can? Look, they try to starve us out after around 1900. I remember I had an aunt that died during that time. They tried to starve black people to death. So I'm saying that, but we survived that. And so what I'm saying is that we have geniuses all over the place. That's why I say we have to, Freedom Rise 2.8, 2.0, a part of plans to direct our kids during the summer to get them focused because these are great minds. And what's going to happen is if we don't direct them, they're going to do great bad things geniusly. Okay, because the genius don't die. And so I'm saying that we have a lot of we have a lot of genius in our community that's undirected, misdirected, and so forth. And so we need to that's our power. And so we need to get hold of this generation's. We need to get their attention, and that's why I'm pushing Freedom Rise 2.0. They need to see some motion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we got to get ready to pause right now for just a real quick break. Now, when we get back, there's another big story that broke this week. Did y'all hear about the trial of these two white men, a father and son? Now, this was in Mississippi, and it was a black FedEx driver. His name was, let's see here. His name was, let's see, I got it right here. The Montero Gibson. Montero Gibson, he was a FedEx driver in Mississippi just delivering packages. And then there was a white father and his son that almost did an Ahmaud Arbery on him. And just this week, as the white father and the white son were facing charges there in Mississippi, all of a sudden the judge declared a mistrial. But can you imagine yourself? You were a FedEx driver, you're dropping off packages, and you have to go sometimes to mostly white areas here, and then somebody blocks you in with a car and started shooting at your FedEx vehicle. Thank God this young man was not hit, but a mistrial declared just this week. We're going to talk about that story and much, much more. And once again, you're watching The Review right here at online Christian radio station, www.theupliftlive.com. Write it down. Go to Google Play and download the app. Uplift it now. That way you can take the Lord Jesus Christ in song with you 24/7. That will be part of your divine coverage and your divine protection as we're living in times now that are truly trying men's souls. I'm Robert Ashley. We're pausing for a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this. And we welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. You see it right there on the screen. And once again, we encourage you to go to Google Play or the App Store and pretty much download our app there, if you will. And once again, I'm Robert Ashley. We thank you once again for being with us. I continue to thank God for giving me well over 30 years of covering news right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And of course, you can find us also on social media. Look for the Dr. Robert Ashley Show, the Robert Ashley Show. And of course, once again, you're listening to the review right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Online 24-hour gospel radio station. We want to uplift you here. And coming up after this particular program, the Radio Robin. And stay tuned for a lot of great traditional and contemporary gospel music. We continue to salute the staff right here at The Uplift. But of course, right now we're talking about and reviewing the top news stories of the week. And once again, I want to continue to thank our panel for being with us. Arthur Fleming, longtime civil rights activist with the Dallas NAACP, former president there, if you will, and also a columnist with the North Dallas Gazette, as we say hello to Sherman and all the great staff there. The North Dallas Gazette, one of our legendary black newspapers, and we salute all of our black newspapers, Cheryl Smith and the Examiner and everybody there. We continue to thank all of them. The Reverend Melvin Brown is with us, along with Angela Lucky, if they're still with us here at www.theupliftlive.com. Well, Arthur, let's talk about this situation involving this black FedEx driver. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that story here, but that was a crazy, crazy situation. And some say it reminded us of the Ahmaud Arbery case, where you had the trial of a white father and his son, both white, charged with shooting at a black FedEx driver in Mississippi. And the trial has ended in a mistrial. Now, can you imagine? You're just a FedEx driver doing your job, delivering packages. And the next thing you know, you got two white men, a father and a son, shooting at you. Now, Ahmaud Arbery was just jogging through Georgia at the time when they ran up on him, shot and killed him. Now, this case on Thursday, Judge David Strong Jr. declared a mistrial in the case involving Brandon Case and, of course, his father, Gregory Case. That's the two whites, the father and the son. Brandon is the son. Gregory Case is indeed the father. Both were charged with attempted murder for shooting at the FedEx driver, Montanero Gibson. Not according to ABC News. Now, Gibson said he was just driving around delivering packages back on January 24th when Gregory tried to block him from leaving a neighborhood. And according to the attorney for Montanero, the black man who was a FedEx driver, when he tried to pass them, blocking him, tried to pass him in the FedEx truck, they got out and just started shooting at the truck. Bam, 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 bam. Thank God the brother Gibson was not hit, but it showed where the truck was shot up, all kinds of gifts and packages inside the truck, Arthur, shot up, and they declared a mistrial because these guys were on trial for attempted murder. They declared a mistrial because some police detective in this small Mississippi town did not disclose information to the plaintiff's attorney and to the defense's attorney, so therefore they declare a mistrial. So, I mean,
well, the good news about a mistrial is that they can retry it. They can retry the case.
Yes.
So I think the case will be retried. That's what they call that Brady. They didn't give them it's called Brady information. In other words, you got to give them all your stuff. So evidently they didn't give them all the stuff. So when they retry, they'll give them all the stuff and that they should have gave them that time. So that, you have to ask something about the folks that was representing him as far as the prosecution. You see what I'm saying? Because what was that about? Maybe they intentionally did that. Who knows? But I'm just saying.
Well, that's what the feeling is among the black community there in Mississippi.
Yeah. That
because these two white folks, the father and son, who were shooting at the black FedEx driver, because it was obvious they were trying to kill the man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it was a guy called me. He was a driver, a delivery driver over at Arlington. And I forget, he was from another state though. He had lived some stuff, and so people cornered him over in Arlington, and he called me. He called me in the midst of the thing, and he was telling me because he was right. But what I told him was, I said, look, I said, go ahead and leave. I say, and then file your complaint, because if you sit there and try to make a thing, even though you're right. It might not turn out good. So I counseled him to to leave the area and then
Right.
complain.
That's a danger.
They're in the area trying to complain because because he was being harassed while he was delivering stuff. So I'm saying that that's a problem. Again, it goes back to this atmosphere that we're living in right now. And so, but as far as that particular case, yeah, I remember when it happened. And but again, they're in a position to retry again. That looked like the prosecution. His attorneys look like they kind of may have sold out on the inside.
Yeah. Now the attorney for the FedEx driver, they were upset with the Justice Department because the Biden administration's Justice Department has been watching this story as well to make sure that this young man's federal civil rights were not violated. And for some reason, they were upset, saying that the Justice Department knew that all the information, what they call exculpatory evidence, that they knew it all hadn't come out yet, and that this is just a racist way that the Mississippi system, as they have dealt with Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State, and everything, polluted water, and that the racists in Mississippi just do whatever they want to do.
And that's why, and that's why in my byline, Freedom Rides 2.0, my position is we need to have freedom rides throughout the South. If we can put the infrastructure into places like Mississippi, Alabama, and so forth, I guarantee you some of this stuff won't be happening because we'll be doing it on a yearly basis. We'll have a presence on a yearly basis, and they'll have support from other states. And so that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to hook up our voting power, and then so we can do some economic things. And so, like I said again, this is old Mississippi. They never changed from back in the day. They took the signs down. I talk about that in my new thing. People forget once they took the sign when the colored signs and stuff were up, and you were alive during this time. You knew where to go and where not to go. It was clearly marked for you. Once they took the signs down, the hate was still in them spaces. The hate was still there. So now you're walking into these spaces, not understanding the level of hate. And so I think we've been kind of walking like that ever since they took the signs down, where the large community was able to say, well, no, we're not like that no more. See, we took our signs down, but they didn't take their action down. They're still doing the action without a sign.
Once again, talking here with Arthur Fleming, longtime civil rights activist, former NAACP president here in Dallas, Texas. The Reverend Melvin Brown is also still with us here. And Reverend Brown, I have several other stories, but the author mentioned the climate that we're living in now. Take, for example, these two white folks shooting at this black FedEx driver. We have 9 current and former Antioch and Pittsburgh, California police officers. They've been charged following a federal investigation into civil rights violations of fraud, excessive force, and the forms of corruption, that according to ABC7. And once again, that is 9 current and former Antioch, Pittsburgh, California police officers. 4 were indicted, charges of wire fraud, deprivation of rights under color of law, meaning official slavery, official oppression, conspiracy against rights, and then conspiracy to distribute all kinds of things. These were police officers. And then we have 6 former Mississippi police officers who were referred to themselves as the Goon Squad. Author, all these officers happen to be white, y'all, and we're not prejudiced. 6 former Mississippi police officers. And I saw them go into court in these yellow jumpsuits. The Goon Squad. They pleaded guilty to state charges of torture and abuse of 2 black men. Now, author, this is a family Christian-oriented station, and to think that these officers allegedly tortured Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker.
No, they use dildo. No, they use dildos to try.
Be careful what you say now, because this is a family-oriented station.
Okay, hey, fam, they did some bad stuff. Okay, they did some bad stuff, and they've been doing bad stuff. This is the same stuff they did during slavery. Again, that's why they don't want. That's why white folks don't want their kids to know their history. This is stuff they did doing then, and it was no thing, was no issue. They just did it, and so that's what we have to understand. This is who we're dealing with. The FBI put out a report. They said that they said white supremacists and so forth had infiltrated law enforcement. Okay, and this is the proof. Now, my question is, why y'all ain't did nothing about it? Okay, it goes back to police reform, goes back to us again, Democratic Party. Can y'all help us get police reform? You can get everybody else their stuff, you know, why we can't get our stuff. And so what I'm just saying is that, you know, so that's kind of where we are with that, you know, because that would be a part of that. They know these people are in there. They know the same thing in the military. They know they in there, and they not being active enough, in my opinion, to get them out. So again, we're at risk. Any black man, you got to understand the white man. They figure they can control the black woman. I don't think they can, but they think they can. But the black man is who they fear. They fear us because when they see me with Angela, they see something different than when they just see Angela. So understand that, and and understand our power, and just understand that, you know, we just have to just stand up for right, and call these people out. It's sick what they're doing. It's sick.
Now, these two black men were caregivers for a white woman living in the area of Braxton, Mississippi. And the officers kicked down the door of this white woman's home because these two black men were there providing care. I guess they just didn't want to see a black man with these white women. They kicked down the door of the men's home without a warrant. Without a warrant. Now, the lawsuit alleges that Jenkins and Parker alleges that the officers handcuffed them, kicked them, waterboarded. Look at that. Waterboarded them, tased them, and then, as Arthur was saying, they attempted to sexually assault them for nearly 2 hours before one of the deputies shot Jenkins in the mouth, shot the brother in the mouth. Angela, Reverend Brown, I mean, so I'm wondering now, with these white police officers being this upset over whatever, now when Donald Trump gets arrested in Georgia next week, Angela, you remember the feeling that we had after the O.J. Simpson verdict. There was a tension in this country, black folks, white folks. And as we see Joe Biden and his son being investigated, and the white people or the Republicans are perceiving that there's a different standard of justice for Trump and Biden, could we get caught up in the middle of all this mess?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you mentioned the O.J. Simpson trial, when that verdict came down, I remember as the only black female and the only two blacks working in a federal organization being at work when that verdict came down and having to pretend that I didn't even know what the verdict was. And being in an environment where it was predominantly white with only two blacks working there when that verdict of O.J. Simpson came down, one of the white coworkers came to my office and said, "You must be happy." And I had to sit there with a straight face and ask, "What are you talking about?" And so they were looking for a reaction. So when the verdict comes down with Donald Trump, the country is going to see a reaction. And I truly believe the skinheads, the KKK, especially KKK, they no longer going to be in disguise. They're going to actually come out. We're going to see this country turned upside down over a verdict behind Donald Trump.
Okay, but is it based upon the perception that Trump is being persecuted, whereas Biden and his son, all these bank accounts, all of this laptop? See, the thing about it is, CNN, MSNBC, and the establishment media is keeping this information from the black community. But see, you talk about the blind side and all that controversy going over that young man and the white family that did the film rights and all that controversy there. I don't want the black community to wind up being blindsided by the racial tension and the perception of two standards of justice in America. Now, black folks, we've always contended that there were two standards of justice in America. Arthur, we've always contended that, and Reverend Brown. So it seems like we may be on a powder keg here.
Hey, Robert, look.
Yes,
I want everybody to understand this.
Yes, sir.
We do not have to go down with that ship that Robert just described. That's their ship. We'd have to go down. We don't have to go down with that.
I thought we was all in the same boat now.
No. And see, that's the problem. See, you thinking you're in the same boat.
No.
You ain't in the same boat. Your boat's over here, floating by itself. Okay. They told you was in a boat, but trust me, Robert, no, you're not in their boat. And so what I'm saying is that You know, like if this thing go down, and it's just folks being revealed. Folks just being revealed. Okay, and yeah, they're gonna be mad, but guess what? It's more of us than it is of them. So we're talking about a small minority that's going to reveal themselves. And I'm saying that, like we should be glad that they finna reveal themselves so we can see them. And then we can make our adjustments to what we need to do. To pretend that they're not there, that's like, they took the black white signs down like we talked about. Once you took them down, we couldn't, okay, so now since the sign's been down, this will be the first time we've seen them actually for themselves since the signs went down. So I'm just saying it's not necessarily a bad thing, because when we get through this, then we'll be at a better place, more than likely, than where we are right now.
And Robert,
let me go to,
let me say this about the Alabama situation. I want to just make myself clear. I know
yes,
I said how proud I was. Make sure that people understand. I was proud of the outcome. Proud of the outcome that Black people that did it came home, that was taken to jail, they was released, and that those Black people are not being framed to take the punishment of something that they did not start. So that's what I'm proud of, that those Black people that did defend that young man, that the outcome, I'm proud about that, the outcome that all of them are not going to have to pay the price of something that those white individuals started.
Yeah, because the first thing they was doing was trying to, I was wondering what's going to happen with that, because I said, oh yeah, okay, now they want to try to fix it where they can let everybody loose.
And before we go to Reverend Brown, we need to be careful too, because people may try to agitate and start some confrontation with you. But I remember several years ago, it seemed like it was in the news every other day. There was some kind of confrontation involving a Black person, a white person. The Black person would be trying to defend themselves, and the white person wind up pulling out a gun. Somebody would walk up to you or do something to start something with you, and next thing you know, you think you're gonna fisticuff like we saw at that boat. Now, if somebody had pulled out a gun, what if somebody had a Glock 9 or an AK-47 and started shooting? So we got to be careful in these confrontations. That's just a warning, not to say that you don't have the right to defend yourself, but be mindful of being baited in or entrapped. Now, Reverend Brown, I'm coming to you as a spiritual advisor with all this racial tension as we're moving towards 2024. How do we keep sane in what seems to be an insane world? How do we stay grounded and rooted?
I think the earlier comment that we just shared was we're in this boat. Boats are smaller and they're subject to sink. Ships are for longevity. And I'm gonna say this. I don't mean to sound so spiritual, but the biggest problem that we have is relationship.
Yes.
Relationship. So the scripture I leave you with today is that we don't fight against flesh and blood. Even though we have differences amongst each other and with other people, we don't use that as an excuse to take issues and fight one another and kill one another because we don't agree. We have issues in higher places, and the Bible says principalities, which means government. And we have leaders that have legislated wrong, and we're going to have to be the measuring cup to bring things right so that we have unity in our community.
Yes. And one other story too, another story that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week. This was right here in our own local community. Yaqub Talib, who is the brother of the former NFL player Aqib Talib, pleaded guilty to murder charges and was sentenced to 37 years in prison in connection with the shooting death of a Pee Wee football coach by the name of Coach Mike Hickman, who was a youth football coach. And once again, Yaqub Talib, who we saw the video in court when they presented it, he pulled out a gun at a Pee Wee football game and shot and killed the coach. He didn't have any statement. I think Aqib Talib left the courtroom without making a statement, but many were saying that Yaqub, he confessed to killing the man. 37 years. Author, just some reactions here.
Well, that's what happened. Look, that's what happened when you're raised in a system that don't acknowledge who you are. For him to even have that mentality tells you, right? Because I mean, anybody with, I mean, look, kids around, but you do something like that anyway. So, so he was raised with a certain mentality. His brother's a pro football player, so forth and so on. And he made it, but at the same time, when you don't have, when you don't know your history, you do stuff like that. And again, that's why I'm saying the biggest control that's over our community is that we've lost the capability of directing our kids' minds. Technology and so forth has moved in and making it harder, but we can still do it though through technology. But that's what's going to happen if we don't get controlled by genius minds. I don't know if he's a genius or not, but I know he know better than to do what he did. But he did it anyway for another reason. So again, we just got to do better. With our kids that's coming up.
Yes, indeed. And Reverend Brown, some of your thoughts. I mean, how do we teach these kids, all those kids who saw that murder of the coach, and then the coach's son, his wife, the whole family, and then the Talib family, they're dealing, both families have been devastated. But of course, Yaqub is still alive, but Coach Hickman is not.
I'm going to say this. Hatred is a cancer. Hatred is a sickness of the soul. And, you can behave any kind of way you want to. But if you don't overcome your own problems yourself, and you take them out on somebody else, you're not helping yourself. And so I say this, that we have one mission, and that is the co-mission of good works, peace, justice, and victory.
Amen. And author, coming back to you in your column, tell us how we can read your column, and also in your column in the North Dallas Gazette, you said we need to be busy doing what we need to do now. What should be the focus of the African American community as we're heading towards the 2024 presidential elections and looking at the economy and looking at these politicians? Tim Scott, the Black Republican from South Carolina, says he wants to be your president.
Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave Tim alone right now. But what I want to say is that the African American community right now is America. Matter of fact, the globe is changing. Africa is trying to do the United States of Africa again, which would benefit us. As this change happen, that's why we need to focus on our African American power, independent of the Democratic and Republican parties. That way, as this thing change, when it changes, then we'll be in a position to have control, a lot more control over our power. So basically, again, Freedom Rides 2.0, go through the South to information buses and programs to empower our people, register that vote, turn out that vote, independent of the Democratic Party, with our issues attached to it. Then we'll be in a position to work with other coalition groups, which will give us more economic power and control over our $2 trillion consumer economy. So we have the money. We got more people than Martin Luther King them had. We got more of everything. We got more educated people. We got more money. We just got more of everything. So it makes no sense for us not to win this fight.
Wow. And also some incredible stories that we're watching here now. MSNBC, a very liberal television station, they're reporting some kind of connection between former President Barack Obama and the late Jeffrey Epstein in terms of a lawyer who used to work for Epstein and somehow or another wind up being a part of President Obama's administration. And then Dr. Cornel West. Now, y'all know Dr. Cornel West, who is running for president as an independent candidate. Did you see that story about Dr. Cornel West, author? Did anybody saw that story?
I've seen some of his interviews while he's running. He has pretty good a platform, except for I don't like his foreign policy platform.
And also they had a real bad story. ABC News. Now this is ABC News now, so when you get these liberal establishment media organizations reporting that the Green Party candidate owes about $500,000 in unpaid taxes, and then about $47,000 in child support. I mean, when you run for political office now, they're going to go and look you all over. I don't know if Larry Elder is facing anything like that.
See that? Wait a minute. Who is this? He's talking about Larry Elder or Cornel?
It's Carnell West, the Green Party candidate, reportedly owes about $466,000 in federal taxes from 2013 to 2017, and then he's accused of owing about $49,000 in child support. Dr. Cornell West,
Let's see.
but he's running.
Yeah, and see, this is why this is why look here. If you're gonna run for office, if you're gonna run for it, if you reach for any type of power within the community as far as leadership and so forth is concerned, you have to know that you're gonna be like spoon through. They're gonna go through everything, your life. They're gonna see it. And so you have to know that. Ask Al Sharpton when he ran. Okay, they put out the FBI file where he was supposedly making a drug deal. That's what they do. You know what they do. So I'm saying, when I was in healthcare business, they try to set me up. They try to set me up to do some illegal stuff over in Arlington.
I remember.
So they got me somewhere on tape giving them the 411. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call the police on y'all. So I'm just saying that.
Well, I remember
that they
when
do.
When you led when they were mad at you because you led a caravan of people down there to the state capitol to protest about how they were treating people at healthcare. I remember that.
See. So yeah. So what I'm just saying is that that's the way the system operates. And again, like Doc said, that's why I say we didn't rig that. We didn't rig that. That's rigged. That's the way it's rigged. We just we're just operating in it.
Okay, and before we go down, do you think former President Donald Trump is trying to use a racial slur against Fannie in Atlanta by saying she's a rigger, something that rhymes with?
Well, most of the pundits say that that's what he's doing.
Don't say it.
He's doing the code word thing. He got all them riggers down there, and so here we go. And so what I'm just saying is that look here, Edgar, he's doing all that. Look, he's doing all that, but what that's going to do in the end, it's going to give us more moral authority power. And so we need to lean into our moral authority, and especially at times that she's doing the right thing. Just go ahead and do your job. Just go ahead and do your job, and then when he come down there, put him in an orange jumpsuit and make him a picture.
Well, we're completely out of time. But Reverend Brown, just a closing word from you, and let's hope and pray now that Joe Biden and his son are not being held hostage and blackmailed by the communist Chinese and the Russians. We're going to continue to have to cover that story, whether Black folks or Democrats like it or not. And also, we're going to reach out to Al Green in light of his situation involving Dallas County. And let's see if that story finds up on one of the TV stations, or do we have to go to work for one of these TV stations to start reporting that kind of news? But Reverend Brown, just a quick comment from you, and thank everybody for being with us, Angela. And of course, Arthur, we thank you. But Reverend Brown, close us out real quick.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming and Dr. Ashley.
Thank you, sir.
We have to walk hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, and we must come together with one purpose, and that is for peace and for prosperity for not only our generation, but for generations to come. And we pray that God would give us the conscience and the fortitude to keep the dream alive.
Beautiful. Well, gentlemen, once again, we thank you so very much. We continue to pray for our friends over there at Saintsville, Bishop Hornsby, and those of you, we just continue to pray and keep your head up. God is on our side. And long as you have God on your side, you have nothing to worry about. He has prepared you for such a time as this. Well, look, I'm Reverend Ashley. I want to thank you for being with us. Let's stay tuned. The Radio Robin's coming up right here at www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Reverend Ashley. We'll see you. I want you to have a blessed day.